I want to show you a cheap and effective swing weight scale. What's happening, Panda Nation? Peter Von Panda here. Hey, if you play golf and you modify your clubs at all, you may be familiar with swing weight. And a lot of people will do that. They'll replace their shafts, their grips, maybe they'll tip or trim the shafts. Maybe they will change the weights in the club head, you know, to give it a different feel, maybe to dial in a little draw bias, whatever it might be. It doesn't have to be just woods. In fact, I have modified my irons. And one of the things that I have noticed here is that we all have a tendency to prefer a certain amount of swing weight, and that is the perceived weight that the club head gives you, and that's going to vary a lot based on all of these different variables. Now, one of the things that I realized is that figuring out how much swing weight you have is not that easy, and you do need a scale for it to really figure out exactly how much you have. Now, a lot of people will make the modifications and then, like I have in the past, just kind of changed the weights and swung the club a few times and been like, oh, that feels pretty good, or that doesn't, and just go by feel essentially. But one of the things I really wanted to do was try to be more consistent with that, and so I went out looking for a swing weight scale. Now, there are some really good digital ones and whatnot, and they are all pretty expensive, and I could not find a cheap one. I even went on eBay to look for used ones, and I really couldn't find any good values. Now, I actually came across this website, Golfworks, and they make a swing weight scale, and it was the cheapest one I could find anywhere. It was brand new, and it came very quickly, and I have been using it here, and I am pretty impressed with it. So I want to show it to you, because for about 55 bucks, if you want to dial in your swing weights, maybe you have a driver that you really love, and you got a new driver, and you want it to be the exact same swing weight, you could do that. Make sure that it is exactly the same, kind of simplify your life a little, and it's nothing really special. It just looks like kind of bent sheet metal. It looks like it's actually powder coated. I mean, it's kind of painted in black, but seems a little more durable than just regular paint. Then it has actually this little scale here, and this is a sticker. It's just stuck on there with kind of silver printing, and it works pretty well. A through G, and there are basically 10 slots for each letter. Now, for most people, you want a swing weight between C and E, and some people are in the kind of the low Ds. Some pros will actually have their driver be a D8, which would be way up here. Some people actually like high Cs. So it just kind of depends, and it depends on how strong you are or weak, or how delicate you are with the shot, or how much you want the weight of the club head to dictate your tempo. But that's not the only piece. You get this big block of iron right here, and it has a little arrow on it, and this is how you figure out exactly what the swing weight is. Now, it has a little arrow, and I am assuming that the arrow goes like this, so you would be able to see that A right there. So that if you had, you know, the lightest swing weight possible, I don't even know that you can have that, but that arrow would be right there on A0, essentially, right? And then as you move it down, you get to A5, B0, B5, C0, all the way down here to where it would be much heavier. Now, what you might be able to see here is we have a little punched out kind of curved area right here, and that will be the fulcrum. And so you will set this up on a flat surface and put your club underneath this little curved area. It's actually counterweighted right there, so that's how they do it. So if I just take my driver like this, what I would do is I would put the driver handle underneath that little lip right there, and then I would put the shaft right on the little notch on this side, just like that. And now I would continue to move this weight around until this sucker was perfectly balanced, all right? Now for me, I like a little more weight. A lot of drivers are D1, D2. I like mine being just a little bit heavier. Again, pros can go up to like a D8, D9, something like that. Now, what's also interesting, and I will show you how that works in a second, I modified my irons as well. I actually reduced the shaft length on these. I actually put on lighter grips. I've actually changed them a couple times, so I went with just a little bit heavier than the lightest grip. And this comes from the factory as about a D0. And I actually thought the D0 was pretty good. I actually wouldn't mind maybe just a swing weight heavier or lighter, so like a C9 to a D2, those kinds of things. So now I can just put this club right in there too, put the shaft right in that little slot there, and weigh this and find out exactly what the weight is of my iron. And I can make sure that all my irons are exactly the same if I really want them to be that way. So let's check this out on the table and see if it works. All right, so I have the scale set up here. I'm just going to grab my Callaway driver and I am going to feed it under there and I'm going to lay it down there. And you can see here that it's tipping all the way forward. So I'm just going to start moving this weight back until we start finding a balance point. A little too much there. And looks like there, I have got it floating on this side and this side balanced right there. And what it's saying here is that this is a D6 swing weight. So you can see D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is great because I like mine just a slight bit heavier. It just helps me slow down and not get so wild on my drives. I kind of dig that. Now let's check out the iron here. And the beautiful thing about this is maybe if you don't like that swing weight, you can change it. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the iron in same way. Club under there. Now obviously this D6 is way too heavy for this iron, so I'm just going to start going back down. Okay, we got that edge lifted up. So it is, all right, it's floating on both edges right there, and it's basically showing me a C9. So in fact, it's actually C9 plus, so it's sitting right on what would be D0. So all those modifications I've made mean that I have basically not changed the swing weight. So I've been able to preserve kind of that ideal swing weight, even though I've modified everything. And now you can kind of put it on the scale here and just kind of confirm that. And so you don't have to just go by feel and swing it around and say, hey, that feels pretty good to me. Now you can know exactly where it is. I'll tell you what, a scale like this is not super accurate. It's obviously all mechanical. It's kind of old school. And I would say that if you're really obsessing that something's a D1 or D2 here, this is probably not going to be the best device for knowing with precision what the swing weight is. Really, for me, this is about consistency and making sure that I'm kind of getting all my clubs after my modifications to the right swing weight so that I don't have to kind of eyeball it. And I really think something like this at $55, especially if you do any club modification of your own, maybe a modified clubs for your friends or something like that, then this can be really invaluable and it's not expensive. So I will put a link to this swing weight scale in the description below. Peter Von Panda, out.